walked the halls of PCA together, learned the focusing approach from Mr. Lee, sang the school song, laughed, cried, and moved on to the next chapter of our lives. But once a lion, always a lion. Thanks for making time to re-engage with your PCA family. We want to know what God is doing in and through your life. I'm Alex Bellamy, class of 2006 and Director of Alumni Relations. Welcome to another episode of our alumni podcast, Life Talk.
Rise and sing.
All right, we are here with David Heasley, class of 2007, and we are just going to chit-chat about life and hear what he's done since high school and what he's doing in life right now.
Yeah, and when he pulled up, he said, it looks a little bit different than when you remember.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
So you haven't been here in a while.
The main entrance is now inside.
Yeah.
Which
this all wasn't here, right? For those of you who are on video, we're actually sitting out in the
Wasn't this like a circle driveway, like your senior year of high school?
This
right
was,
here?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So this was that
You
kind of
walk
half
in over here.
pulled up. You walked up the stairs. I think I've actually got plenty of pictures on those stairs that are no longer there.
No longer.
So,
I think
but
we
this
took
is
class
awesome.
pictures there.
This is really cool.
Those
Yep,
first
all
couple
the class
years.
pictures were there.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're 07. I'll just say this, the Heasley family, okay, and this is from a person who's been here about 19 years, 21 kind of at the school, 19 on staff. The Heasley family, right, to me is kind of like PCA royalty.
Agreed.
Okay? And
Agreed.
just, right, I mean, because, you were here, Catherine was here, Jonathan was here.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
John, for those who know him now. But your parents, all right,
Jonathan.
involved in everything, right? I mean, the Heasley family was such an incredible part of the PCA, just kind of legacy. So when did you get here? When did you come to PCA?
So my first year at PCA was 6th grade.
Okay.
And that was, so we were actually living in Flower Mound at the time. And so we drove from Flower Mound to the Arapahoe location. So that's where,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were there for just 6th grade.
Yeah.
And then 7th grade, we were at Prestonwood Church.
Yep.
And then I think this was finished up right in time for 9th grade. So as soon as I started high school, we were in this building.
All right.
But I've got many memories there in the Arapahoe location because we shared with Shelton, so there were two schools in one almost. And, kind of seen the whole evolution. So being back here is really cool, but very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely different for those who walk the halls and go, hey, this wasn't here when I was here.
No.
Yeah, a lot of this wasn't, but
It's really impressive.
It's beautiful. It's really cool to see.
Yep. So what memories of PCA when you were here? What kind of things? I was just talking about, I've got Campbell, and I was telling him that my Campbell wears number 15 because his brother Parker wore number 15, which David reminded me that was your number as well.
It was.
That's so cool.
Jacob Stamper gave me 15, and then Jonathan got 15, and then it's trickled down the line to the Panettis, so it's perfect.
There you go. From
Awesome.
the Heasleys to the Panettis. 15 carries on the great legacy. So
That's right.
That's awesome.
No,
so,
man.
yeah, what kind of things were you involved with?
Gosh, I have so many great memories of PCA, and I think the cool thing about being at PCA and just being at a private school in general is that you can be a part of so many different things. Yeah. And so, obviously sports was probably the highlight. Just being involved in anything from baseball, basketball, track, football, but future problem solving was a huge highlight. Mrs. Lichty will be very happy to hear that.
There you go.
I was in 2 musicals towards the end of high school.
Really?
So,
Okay, which ones?
First one was Bye Bye Birdie, and I think that was my junior year. And then senior year was Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Oh,
and the
goodness.
reason I can remember that name is because my wife Abby and I were talking about it recently because tap dancing came up, and I had to learn to tap dance.
No
and
way.
So, yeah, Miss Dawn taught us how to tap dance.
That's awesome.
And somehow me, Robert Good, and a couple other guys got roped into being like lead tap dancer or speed tapists, tap dancers.
Yeah.
I got to learn how to tap dance for Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Just something to add to your resume.
Yeah, just something else to do. So, no, so many great memories. Like you and I were talking, Dan, a lot of my closest friends, even to this day, are from PCA.
Yeah.
And, it's that situation where we're going to be friends forever. Lifelong friendships that were forged really in 6th grade, 7th grade, and beyond. So we've been friends for 25 plus years now, which is pretty incredible.
Was Aaron Ulmer your quarterback? Or who
Aaron
was your quarterback?
was
Okay.
senior year.
Okay.
Yeah. So Stephen Oschlager, Yeah, Steven Oschlager, I guess, sophomore and junior year.
Yep.
And he became quarterback because Ty Robinson got injured on
Yep.
freshman year
Broke his
or
back.
sophomore year. Yeah,
I
broke
still
his
remember
back.
that like it was yesterday. We were at First
I think
Baptist.
he actually told that story on
Yeah.
his podcast. I
Yeah.
listened to his and Steven's.
Yeah, he was looking for a little like sympathy, and like, we're not giving it to you.
Yeah.
It was-
Gosh, that was awful. That was a horrible season, by the way,
Yeah.
because Ty got hurt. Jordan got hurt. I mean, we had so many injuries that year,
Yep.
which ironically opened the door for a lot of us younger underclassmen to come in and, fill some of those slots. But, yeah, so senior year, Will Norris got hurt first or second game, and then Aaron was our quarterback the rest of that year,
Yep.
senior year. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And then he and I ended up going to UT Dallas together, towards the end of college. So
Okay.
we were able to do some intramurals together and tear it up a little bit
Fun.
post high school.
yeah.
But
You and Bobby Polk were always close here.
oh yeah, Bobby's still a very, very close and dear friend. I also tried to recruit him up to Colorado.
There you go.
So I'm trying, anybody I can to get up there. I'm trying to recruit. So if you guys would love to move up to Colorado, feel free.
We go every summer. We love Colorado.
Yeah, no, we love it too.
We go visit. We do
go
the
in the
Texas thing,
summertime.
right? You go up to Colorado
Yep,
in the
drive
summer.
up, usually like Durango area. It's
yep.
like the closest area.
Spend some time
We
and come
go
back.
to family camp every week in
That's
the summer.
awesome.
It's awesome.
That's
We
awesome.
love it.
It's
but
so good.
The Polks are great friends. Megan and Abby are great friends, and as much as we can see them,
Yeah.
we love getting the whole crew together again.
Now, did you guys do do you remember homecoming, mini-mester, and things like that as well?
Yes. Oh my gosh, Mini-Mester. So Mini-Mester, I went to Honduras for the first time through Mini-Mester.
Oh, wow.
And so that was freshman year. Yeah, so that would have been ninth grade. And I want to say that might have been the first time that the school went to Honduras.
Okay.
But mostly through Jenny Brady. She has some contacts down there. And so there was a small group of us. It was me, Parker, and Will, and then Sydney Gardner, J.C. Svensson, Callum McDowell, and a few. I think Caroline Clark might have gone too. But it was a small.
I was on that trip.
Were you on that trip?
I was
Okay.
on that trip. I was
Okay.
actually flipping through a yearbook a couple weeks ago and found like a team photo, and every one of those people you just named was on it. It was
Oh,
really
my
cool
goodness.
just to kind
Do
of
you remember
sit
that
back.
trip?
Oh, I do. It was fun.
It was a lot of
It
fun.
was very different. It was a culture shock. Like,
It was a lot of fun.
didn't we stay in like a church or?
It was a church,
Something.
some sort of compound-looking
Yeah.
place, and
It was-
no hot water. It
No.
was, we got the full experience.
Yes.
It really
but
was.
that led to a really cool experience even after high school, where we continued going down to Honduras and got involved with La Finca de los Niños, which is an orphanage down there.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually after high school, Sydney and I, we went down there with some college friends for a few years, and Mr. Lichty came with us
Really?
a couple times. And gosh, I'm trying to remember the last year that we went, but yeah, we can talk all about that, because that's really where, I kind of developed this heart for adoption. And, the adoption relationship between the U.S. and Honduras is very difficult.
Yeah.
And, but that's kind of what spurred that interest. And Abby had a passion for adoption even before we met. And so, we adopted our third daughter. But I think a lot of that experience and that passion started that freshman year, that trip to Honduras, because it's an eye-opening experience. You're in this bubble, and then you kind of get to see how the rest of the world lives and what else is out there. And so
I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm glad you
'cause-
brought up Mini-Mester.
Well, so many people, right, when you hear Mini-Mester and you take a week off during, right before spring break, and
Yeah.
spring sports still hate it. It's like,
Yeah.
what in the world are you people doing?
Right.
But it's funny because, you hear story after story after story after story, and after you've been here 20 years and you hear the stories of the impact of Mini-Mester, not just during that week, but years later, right?
Yeah.
You have to kind of say, listen, just trust me on this one, okay? Let's keep doing it. Let's keep investing in it. I know COVID, almost killed it.
Yeah.
It was so hard to do things, and people are like, okay, do we need to bring this program back? And it's like, yes, just trust us. We need to bring it back. We need to make it as big as it was before, right, where everybody's going on trips. Bring the international trips back. I know it's difficult.
Yep.
But, yeah, just your experience you had, it's like, it's life-changing.
Yeah, and that's a unique thing.
Yeah.
Even after high school, you try to explain to someone, we had this week before spring break
Yeah.
where we got
What'd
to
you
go
do?
on these
Nobody
incredible
understands.
trips and get these experiences.
Yeah.
And even if you stayed here, you could do these, I think my junior or senior year, I did the film mini-mester, not
Okay.
the one in LA, but the
Right.
one here, where you basically have a week to make a short film. You have to edit it, put it together, all that sort of thing. That's, those are just very unique experiences that are, I feel like, exclusive to PCA. Maybe they are elsewhere, but whenever I explain to someone, I went to Honduras in ninth grade, and it was a part of school before spring break. It's
Your school took 20
really
kids to
unique
Honduras
experience.
in ninth grade.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no problem.
What could go wrong?
Flying into Tegucigalpa, if you
Yes,
remember that
I
airport, which
do.
is like, I think, the second most dangerous airport in the world. You're
At that
banking
time,
along
I didn't
the,
notice that. I
Yeah,
had no
none of us
idea.
knew. We were all naive.
What
thinking
could
this.
go wrong? And really, I mean, honestly, right, 5% of all the trips or whatever, right, something's going to happen, right? And people focus on that. It's like, oh, look at the negative. It's like, listen, there's 95% of this life-changing experience. So just
And how that prepares you and
It's cool.
and stays with you as
It's
you
so
get
cool.
older.
Yes.
I look back on a lot of that stuff because I feel like you take it a little bit for granted
do.
when you're young. You don't really realize the impact of what you're getting
You
to
can't,
experience.
right? You're in ninth grade, you're in
I know,
Honduras,
like,
you're
man,
gonna
I wish
go,
I could have done that when I was 30 instead of when I was 14 or 15.
Yeah, well, maybe you can, because Alex is trying to bring back alumni mini-master
trip.
trips.
Okay, all
Yep.
right.
So
Well,
stay
my
tuned for
mini-master.
that.
All right, I'll be excited.
It
But
is on my
great
list
memories.
of things to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So once you graduated from PCA, though, where did you go? You said you went to University of Dallas?
So graduated PCA. Actually went to John Brown University up in Siloam Springs, Arkansas.
Did you go up
for
there to
2
play
years.
sports?
I played rugby up there.
Did you
I
really?
didn't go there to
Really?
play rugby, but I went there and had to get my fix somehow.
Oh, wow.
So I went there. Parker Bell also went there. We were roommates for 2 years. And then, after sophomore year, transferred to UT Dallas and then graduated there. I was ready to graduate, man. I graduated early. I had a fun college experience. I had a great time, but I was ready to just start working,
Yeah.
Graduated from UT Dallas. I was involved in Pine Cove throughout college, so that was a great experience, a big reason why I ended up coming to UT Dallas. And then, tried to figure out what I wanted to do in life really through college, which another thing looking back on, it's like, man, there's a lot of pressure to try and decide what you want to do for the rest of your life in college, because I thought I was going to go. So my dream was always to be an animator for Pixar. Like, that's what I was going to do in my
Very
mind. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. And did AP art here at PCA, digital media arts major in college. Very quickly realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And so the wheels started turning. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And also, what does a career path look like for this realistically for me? And so a lot of things in one ended up leading me to transfer to UT Dallas, changed my major to business. And I was like, I'm going to get a business degree under my belt and just kind of see where I want to go from there. And so got into advertising, worked at an ad agency in Dallas called Tracy Locke for a few years. That's how I met my wife. So we were set up on a blind date by her cousin who I worked with, and met Abby on a blind date. And
Where's she from?
So Abby is from Round Rock,
Okay.
so just north of Austin. So she born in Fort Worth, but raised in Round Rock, and her family are still down there in the Austin area. And then she graduated from Texas Tech, moved to Dallas. Cousin set us up, and shortly thereafter is when Robbie and Brent Trammell reached out to me.
Wow.
And so that's kind of like, I feel like the rest is history
Took
after that.
you in
'cause
the
that's
out of
kinda
the old
like
medical
where that whole
supply
next
sales.
chapter of life started.
Yes.
Was through the late Brent Trammell, who was just an incredible man. But him and Rob, who's your brother-in-law. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Okay. Worked with Robbie for a while, and
And
long
that's
story
what
short, we're in
took you up to
Colorado.
Denver.
That is what took us up to Denver.
Yeah.
So I was an associate with Robbie for a couple years, and our manager at the time, it's kind of like you do this associate program, similar to what Garrett did, Alex's brother. And after a period of time, you kind of learn the ropes, and then you get your own territory. Well, I was expecting to go down to Austin. Like, that was kind of the plan. And it seemed like that was going to be what was going to happen. And Abby and I were going to, get married and go start a life in Austin. Well, Abby and I got married in February 2016. My manager approaches me and says, hey, I don't think you're going to get Austin, just letting you know. In fact, James Jeffrey wants to go down to Austin, which there's another
Neil's son.
Another Prestonwood name.
Yeah.
And so he was like, but there's an opening in West Denver. He's like, I really think you should go for it.
Okay.
I'll recommend you for it. And I was like, West Denver, okay. So Abby and I had just gotten married, and like, this will be an adventure. Let's, we don't have kids. We just got married. Let's go check this out.
Yep.
And this was October 2016. We find out that we're pregnant with Hattie a week before we moved to Colorado. So it was like,
That's a lot.
boom, boom, boom,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Married in February, moving in October, find out we're pregnant. And then Hattie came that following May. But we took the plunge, moved to Denver. Abby was extremely trusting. I marry her, and then all of a sudden I'm taking her away from Texas and everything she knows and everything I know. And I couldn't get her to move back now, even if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But just the way that God laid out everything ahead of that. I know we'll get into Hattie and that whole story, but it's been, looking back on that whole chapter post college, has been really cool to see just how God has a plan, and just the way that He ordained really every single step that led us to where we are right now. Which is
But
really neat.
it does seem weird, though, that in God's providence, that He took you away from family and community, right? So that when Hattie was born, and then Hattie starts, you guys start figuring out all these difficulties, that really you didn't have that support system around you, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what that was like, right, when you guys found out Hattie had some difficulties.
Yeah, no, man. I think I almost think that was almost by design, and almost the best way it could have happened, because Abby and I really learned to rely on each other. And we were newly married. We'd been married for a year by the time that Hattie was born. Had our 1-year anniversary in February. Hattie's born in May, and so we're newlyweds. No matter how you look at it, you're newlyweds really at that point. And so we just got thrust right into life. Like, this is life. It's not always, sunshine and butterflies. Here's a challenge right here. And so I think we matured in our relationship. We matured in our faith very, very quickly, because we really didn't have a choice. Yep. And I think when you deal with challenges like that just come at you, and it's your child, this isn't another family, this isn't a friend, like, this is your child. You're forced to decide, how am I gonna handle this? Am I gonna rely on God, or am I gonna try and do this my way? Am I gonna get angry at my spouse? Am I gonna get angry at God? I don't know. It was a very, very quick way to mature. And that's another thing that you look back on, you're just like, golly, like, how many learning moments did I have during that first year, and we still do. But it happened quick, man. But it sounds weird to say I wouldn't trade anything for the world. I wouldn't have done it any other way. Yeah. And it's been a blessing in disguise, which has been cool.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about Hattie then.
Yeah.
Life with Hattie.
Life with Hattie, yeah. So Hattie girl, she's about to be 7, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So we did not know much while Abby was pregnant. Mm-hmm. Hattie was measuring a little small, so there was like some slight concerns. We had some Doppler scans throughout the pregnancy, but she was born in May. That first day, she had an apneic episode, is what they were calling it, about 4 hours after she was born, which later we would find out was actually a seizure. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know that at the time, and so we didn't really think much of it. But she had this apneic episode where she just kind of turned purple, wasn't breathing. We're freaking out. Nurses pressed the code blue, rushed her away, and like I said, this is 4 hours after birth, and so we ended up being in the NICU for about a week after that happened, but still didn't know, the reason. They thought maybe she was just a little low on oxygen, had these random apneic episodes. Bring her home, everything's great. About a month later to the date, so this would have been like June 24th, I was in the driveway, and Abby comes running out and says, hey, something's going on with Hattie, something's not right. And so I go in there. Hattie's a month old, she's purple, not breathing, just not there. I mean, as horrible as it sounds, it almost looked like she was dead. But so we just stripped off her onesie, later tried to get her skin on the cold granite countertop, and nothing was happening. So call 911. They get there, but at that point, Hattie had kind of come back and come to, and she was crying, which is good. And so they did some vitals on her. Everything looked fine. They end up leaving. It ends up happening again about 30 minutes later after the EMTs leave. So they take her straight to Children's. Extremely long story short, we're in the NICU for about a month and ended up having blood panels sent to University of Chicago because they ran every test in the world trying to figure out what was going on. And come to find out, she had a very rare chromosomal deletion syndrome called 1q43q44. So she's missing missing a large portion of her first chromosome on the Q arm. And so at the time, 52 kids in the world that they knew that had this. And so as far as a support system goes, we didn't really have much. Like we're researching this as much as possible. Like, hey, what do things look like as far as development or even lifespan? Like we didn't know. Sure. You know, it's not like they just hand you this booklet that's like, all right, here you go. Here's how you take care of your kid now. And so that learning journey was insane. Yeah. You know, and again, married for a year. Here we go. Let's start life. And so, dude, what transpired from that point on is just unbelievable to see how she has not only affected our lives, but other people's lives, you know, and just I wasn't expecting to get emotional, but just the way that God has used her and spoken through her and helped other families. I mean, Hattie's helped more people than I will ever help in my entire life, from helping to start special needs programs at church to schools to leading some of our friends in the special needs community to the Lord, and just that testimony that she carries. Yeah. It's been really, really cool to see. And so, so there's one other little girl in the state that has this exact same deletion. Her name's Lucy. She's 3 months younger than Hattie, so they are so close, and we've gotten to know them very well. And our geneticist has gotten to know both families.
What incredible timing for the Lord to put you guys in the same state, to have these girls be friends, and that's so special.
Unbelievable. And we love Texas. Texas is incredible. Colorado is home, and the resources and the way that we've kind of seen them take care of Hattie has been really cool to see. That's awesome. Colorado is definitely not without its faults, but just the community and the way that they've really wrapped their arms around the special needs community and Hattie, and we haven't experienced it elsewhere, but Colorado's been incredible. So we know that's obviously the first thing to come to mind is, well, that's why we were here in the first place, was because of this journey ahead, and so it's kind of just cultivated from there. But been really neat to see, and here we are 7 years later, man. It's crazy.
So you guys have another daughter, right?
We have two other little girls.
Okay.
Yep. Yes. So we've got Shiloh, our 4-year-old, biological daughter, typical daughter, and then we have Neela, who we adopted from India summer of 2022. So she's been home for about a year and a half, and we knew her since 2020, and she'll be 4 in May. So, yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the story behind Neela's adoption, how you guys found out about her, and then bringing her back home to the state.
Man, if we have like 2 hours,
I know.
we could talk about India for like all day if you guys want to. But so I think we, like I said, we both had this passion for adopting, and when Hattie came along, we were thrown into the special needs community, and I had no experience with children with special needs. I, wasn't really sure how to act and what's appropriate. What does this life even look like? Like, what entails in that? And I think that's why we're both, we don't expect other people to know how to act or react around kiddos with special needs, and so we were very quickly exposed to that community, and developed a passion for it, met a lot of other great families. And so when we started talking about adopting, we thought, we would be open to adopting a child with special needs or a disability, whatever that might look like. And I guess we started in like March of 2020 was when we started the adoption process. So it was about a solid 2-year process of getting approved and just going through all the processes leading up to that. But we it's weird. I think it's gone back for anyone considering adoption. It used to be if you're going to adopt internationally, then you would be matched with somebody. You know, you go through the process. You would, if you had a preference for a girl or boy, you could give your preferences, and then they would kind of match you with somebody. Well, during 2020, they changed things up to where they gave you access to this portal where you could just see all of these kids and then choose who you wanted to adopt. It was really strange, and so Abby and I were a little torn up about that because that's a hard situation
tough.
to be scrolling through. But we knew what we were open to and we knew what we weren't. And I think what we decided was, in our capacity, we would be open to any disability that may not affect cognitive function, just with our capacity with Hattie at the time. So, anyways, find little Neela, and she has arthrogryposis, which is a very fancy word for clubbed hands and clubbed feet. And so her incredible biological mother braved, in the middle of COVID, dropped her off at an orphanage, was with her for a week, and we don't know anything about her mother, whether she was younger or what that situation looked like. But Abby and I go back to, in the middle of COVID, which in India, it was, complete lockdown. Yeah. She somehow made her way from her home to the orphanage to give this little girl a shot at life,
Little miracle.
And that is not common in India. And that's a big reason why we adopted from India, is because just, what happens to those little girls, especially those with disabilities, is not great. So her biological mother is just an incredible woman, whoever she is. And matched with her, fell in love with her from the start, got to FaceTime with her over 2021 to 2022, and then we flew from Denver to Delhi in, June of 2022. And I'll say we were supposed to be there for about 2 or 3 weeks. We were there for a little over a month just because of some things that went down in India. It was a culture shock, man. You want to say Honduras is a culture shock, which it is. India is a totally. Have you ever been to India?
I have not.
I hadn't either. It's a different world, man. Beautiful culture, beautiful people, amazing food, really, really, really friendly people, but just a completely different way of doing things, which we had to learn. And,
we got a couple PCA missionaries that are over at India.
Okay.
Right. Because Grayson Warren's there.
Warren.
Okay.
So, and I know some others, in different places. So it's culture shock.
Yeah, culture shock.
Very different.
All that being said, we would love to go back one day with Neela, when she's ready or whenever she wants to. But
and she's 4 now?
She'll be 4 in May.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so she's 3, and just got approval on a power wheelchair for her.
Ooh.
So she's going to get her first little wheelchair, which will be awesome. And then she's having her first of a few surgeries here in January. So that'll be kind of the next step for her. And it's that she's completely cognitively typical. In fact, she's brilliant, blows our minds every day. Didn't speak a lick of English, a year and a half ago, and now she's talking, just as much as Shiloh is. And so she fits right in. She's definitely a Heasley, just driven, spunky, goofy. But she'll. I think we're going to give her the shot at walking, and if that's what she wants to do when she's older, is choose to go after that, great. If she wants to choose to be in a power wheelchair, that's great as well. So we're gonna give her that option. But this first step will be a somewhat semi-serious surgery on her legs and feet, and I think it'll be good.
Man,
Wow.
so
What an
crazy.
incredible story.
It is. And you and Abby have
Life's
just been
crazy.
like champions. Through all this together. I know that.
She's more of a stud than I am.
Yeah, but
that's for sure.
having special needs kids is really difficult on a marriage.
It is.
And
Y'all jumped right in.
Yeah, it is. It's I think what we quickly realized is that the special needs community is full of people that don't know Jesus, and I think it's easy to look at some of these kids and say, God created them that way for a purpose, and there's no accidents out there.
Yeah.
if someone were to ever come up to us and say, hey, do you ever wish Hattie were typical? Or we've had people come up to us and say, like, I'm praying for a miracle that God will hear your child. It's like, no, Hattie is the way that she is because that's how she's supposed to be. And she's perfect the way that she is. But if you don't know Jesus, then it's hard, obviously they're not thinking that way. We can't expect non-believers to think like believers. And so I think what we've realized is that people in the special needs community, they're the ones who need Jesus the most, and for good reason. They have every reason in the world to be angry at God, believe there's not a God. How could a good God do something like this to my child, et cetera. And so it's been neat in a weird way to be exposed to that community, but also give our testimony and just love on them. And little things as small as inviting them to church. And I know Prestonwood has a great special needs program. That is not the norm, by the way. And so experiencing that where we are.
So what was that like? I mean, do you guys have a good church community, and did you guys help start kind of their special needs program, or did they already have something established?
Yeah, so we were at Red Rocks Church in Littleton for a few years, and they did not have a special needs program.
Great music, by the way.
Good music, great music. They didn't have a special needs program, and so we would either keep Hattie with us in the service, or that's really all we did, or we'd stay at home and watch virtually. Like those was kind of our options. And so we got with another family and helped start a special needs program there. There's a curriculum called Champions Club. I'm not sure if that's what Prestonwood uses, but so we started a little program there at Red Rocks. Ended up getting some families, hey, no excuse to not come to church now, right? And so we had a couple nurses from Children's Colorado that were there every Sunday, watching the kiddos, a whole room dedicated to that program. And so that was really neat to see. We've actually, I don't know if I told you this, Dan and Alex, we actually moved from Littleton to Fort Collins about 7 months ago. Okay. And so we were at Res Church up in Loveland, and they have a full Champions Club program. I mean, 5 dedicated rooms. There's like a sensory room, a music room, all these incredible rooms. There's probably like 30 kids with special needs that are part of that Champions Club program. And so we've kind of just rolled right into that, which has been incredible. And that community up there is incredible as well. But Resurrection Christian School, which is where Shiloh is right now, they are just now starting a special needs program there as well. So we're hoping Hattie's in first grade now. We're hoping by second and third grade she'll be over at Res at some point, and then Neela to follow, of course. But being able to start something like that was really, really cool. Just being a part of that. I think a lot of churches, a lot of the responses from churches is, well, there's just not a need for it. We don't have a big community with special needs here. And the truth is, you do have a community with special needs. They're just not here because they can't be here right now. And it's almost a stereotypical, build it and they will come. I know that's easy to say, but it's so true. As soon as you launch something for any sort of disability or just having some sort of inclusion for these kids, the families are going to come because we were in that same boat. I mean, there were days where Hattie might be a little seizure-y, something might be going on. We're not going to church because we can't leave her in this room if she has a seizure.
But if you had medical care there and people who knew what was going on.
Correct,
all of a sudden it's a totally different, And not just for special needs kids, but special needs adults.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's the thing that Prestonwood. So Rob's wife Candace works in the special needs program, and she's kind of giving us the update on all the different rooms and the sensory room and the different things. And it goes from kids to adults. And I think a lot of churches look at it, as you said, and one, we don't have that community, right? But you would if you open the doors. But then two, the expense of it, and just saying, hey, if you're gonna get into this, right? It's a community that may not bring a lot of resources, but they need a lot of resources. But here's the deal: that's how you minister to the community, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, just like any program that you have that you're trying to reach out to people and bring them in. Sure, there's going to be an expense to it. But if churches do it, I'm telling you, that community will come in, and they will be loved and they will be ministered. But they'll change the way that your community then looks at life as well. And just like you said, when you bring Hattie someplace, it's like she's ministered to way more people, right, than you and Abby ever could. Just because she changes, right, your default position in life. right? You can't just kind of go through your normal life doing your normal thing, and all of a sudden you run into a Hattie and go, oh, everything. It's like, whoa, you got to stop. You got to evaluate things.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you got to start asking real questions of life. And it really does. It changes your perspective, your paradigm on life. And then God enters into that equation. And that's just what happens when you're around, right, that special needs community, right? Connor Bales up at the North Campus.
Yep, love Connor.
Right, 2 special needs daughter, just wrote a book, Counted Worthy. It's a great reminder of just, that this is how God has created, right? All of us are broken and wounded. Well, welcome to sin, right? I mean, this world down here is not how God has designed for it to be, but you look at it and you go, it's amazing how God works through every facet. So there isn't she's not perfect. No, she is. She's perfectly made the way God has created Hattie to be, right? He created Neela to be, created Shiloh to be, or all the way that he wanted him.
Yep.
And it's our job to see, right, God's creation and God's work in the midst of each of those, wonderful human beings, and in the midst of ourselves too. Because I think that's, we talk about being typical and being normal. It's like, what does that really mean?
Right. Yeah. What is normal anyways, right?
Exactly. So that's a great reminder. I mean, if people are out there listening and you're, let's say you don't have special needs community and your church isn't doing, it's like, go to your church and say, hey, listen, I know this isn't on our radar, but could we start something like this and just see who God brings along? Because that's a good reminder for us as believers to be reaching out to whatever community God brings along our path.
It is. No, I mean, everyone needs exposure to that. And like I said, I think the parents and anyone in that community needs Jesus just as much as we do, if not more. And so it opens the doors to all kinds of conversations. And I'm glad you brought up Counted Worthy, because I love that book. Connected with Connor about a year ago, and he and Palks are good friends, close friends. But I think one of the biggest points that I learned from him is that, it's stereotypical to say to someone going through a hard time, hey, God's not going to give you more than you can bear. But that is not true at all.
Nope,
right?
It's not.
And
doesn't say that anywhere in Scripture.
I think he talks about how Paul writes in 2 Corinthians, when they were in Ephesus, they were given much more than they can bear, but so that they could rely more heavily on God.
That's right.
And so,
God's not going to give you more than you can handle with Him.
Correct.
And He can handle everything. So, so you look at it and you go, I can't handle any of this. And God's like, I got it. Right?
I can't tell you how many times I heard that.
I love how you laid out, your path, though, right? Within your first year of marriage, right? And all of a sudden you have this, and you're like, oh, my goodness.
Get ready.
And you don't have the community, that you would have had here in Texas, and you're up there and you're kind of isolated and alone. But the reality is like God's there with you.
Yeah.
Right? So there isn't anything that's coming your way that you and God can't handle.
Yeah. No. There's nothing too big, nothing too difficult. And but, how cool is it, man, just looking back on where things started and where you are now, and
it's incredible
how much
to
life's
see
ahead.
how faithful the Lord has been through each and every step of the way.
Yeah.
It is cool. Well, any last words out to those? I know there's a bunch of alumni. They said, okay, here's the deal. They saw David Heasley, right, and they clicked on it.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're listening, and they're kind of like, man, it's so good to hear from David. Any last words that you want to send out to those guys and gals out there who are listening to this?
We have our 20-year reunion coming up here.
Oh my goodness.
3 or 4 years or so. That's gonna be crazy. I remember the 10-year reunion like it was just yesterday, and that was a blast. No, man, I think you don't realize what you have until you look back on all those memories.
Yeah.
And I have a ton of memories, not just with PCA, but with Prestonwood Church as well, just with the choir trips and all the fun things that we did. But I think for people graduating and for students here, even now, just soak it in. Again, a lot of times this is all you know. There's a whole other world out there that's waiting for you. So soak it in. Be a part of as many things as possible while you're a student here. It's going to carry you further than you expect. Yep. Whether that's athletics, whether that's the arts, whatever it is, it's really going to carry you far. But like I said, man, I forged my closest friendships here. My best friends in life are the ones that I made here at PCA, even to this day. And we talk every day. We see each other every year, no matter where we're living at this point. And so, I know everyone has different experiences, but I look back very fondly on mine, and I have a feeling there's at least something that was forged in every student that walked in these halls that they carry with them for a lifetime. I think it changes your aspect when you have kids, especially, of where do I want my kids to be in school? You know, we could talk all day about what the world's like now, but you know, I'll be honest, I didn't know if I wanted my kids to go to private school. It's expensive. You know, I wanted them to kind of be exposed to some of the secular parts of the world, because I do think that that's a good part in life. However, when they get to a certain point in life and these conversations start coming up, you're like, you know what, if they can have a Christ-like experience and a Christ-focused education, especially in their younger years, but also have this happy medium of, you know, seeing what the rest of the world is like, I think there's no better opportunity. And our parents sacrificed a lot for us to be here. I'll forever be grateful for that. Me, Jonathan, and Catherine all talk about it fondly and look back on those times.
And honestly, the seed that was planted, right, you know, by Rick and Sherry putting you guys here, and you said it, the connection between the family, the church, and the school, right?
Yeah.
The reality is you don't know, right, if that really is taking, you know, root and there's going to bear fruit of it until, you know, you kind of hit your mid-30s and you go through life and some stuff pushes back, and it's either, you know, hey, has that kid built his life right on the foundation of Jesus Christ, or, you know, have they not? And you know, life has thrown you some storms, right?
Yeah.
And because of your foundation of Christ, right, you guys have weathered that storm. And I think that's the great thing, is you want to share that with other people, because everybody else has built their house on sand, life thrown a storm at them, and it's crumbled, right? And you're like, hey, you don't have to crumble, right? Change from building your life on something that doesn't have a strong foundation, move it over to Christ, and trust me, he will be the foundation that you need for whatever life throws at you.
No, well said. I think that firm foundation is built, you know, during these years. It really is.
Yep. Well, it's awesome. Hey, you know what?
That was so good.
I just laugh because, you know, you came in, for those who, you know, are paying attention, like where we are, we're at the school, but it's during your Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
So happy Thanksgiving. You came down, you gave up some of your time, right, to share with us, and I just want to say thank you for coming in.
No, thank you guys. It's great catching up. It's great seeing the building, but no, if I can see some familiar faces while I'm here, that's always a plus. So thanks for having me.
Awesome.
It's good to be here. Awesome.
Well, thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Life Talk. I pray that God is doing something amazing in your life, and I want to make sure that we stay connected. Check out the show notes below for more information. Remember, you are loved by a good God. Be blessed and walk in a manner worthy of His calling. Until next time.